The weather is finally cooling off this evening. We've had such hot days, so I thought it would be a good time to take you along and harvest some seeds that are ready, and also to make a bouquet for one of my friends. At this point in the season, my dill has mostly gone to seed, and my patch of dill is covered in these black swallowtail caterpillars. So I'm letting the caterpillars take what dill they need so that they can go into chrysalis and form butterflies, but for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and harvest some of my dill. Because my dill seed is ready to harvest, I'll show you guys. It just comes straight off in my hand, and so I'm just going to fill up a little bit of this plastic sandwich bag. I wrote dill 2024. Who knows how long I'll have these seeds, but I'm just going to pull off some of these seeds, and dill will self-seed. It has done really well at the back of the house here, so it's fine with me if it self-seeds next year, but I also wanted to save some seed so that I could put it where I wanted. Because I'm harvesting these dill seeds when they're already pretty dry, I don't have to worry too much about moisture, but I will make sure that my sandwich bag is open when I head into the house so that it can dry out any more than it needs to. I'll seal it up before winter when I store it. Next up, we're harvesting bupleurum, and at this time of the year is actually when I'm supposed to direct sow my bupleurum seeds outside so that they can overwinter in the fall and then come back in the spring. So I'm going to spread some of these seeds just kind of as I go in the garden in the next couple of days so that they can get going and get sprouting. But for now, I'll save some of these for next year. You'll notice that there's a little bit of chaff or debris. That doesn't bother me. Again, same as with the dill, because these are pretty dry. You can see behind me the plant itself is brown. Because they're dry when I'm harvesting them, I'm not super worried about moisture, but I will go ahead and open the bags up to let any moisture out when I get inside. Next up is my gorgeous white columbine, and this has had seeds ready for quite some time now, and I hope that it's casting its seed into the garden to share and spread more columbine for me for the coming years. But I'm going to go ahead and try to start some from seed, so I'll save some today too. You can see with these when I turn the flower over that the seeds are just falling out. So I'll just take a few flowers, and as I've been working in the garden lately, I have been kind of scattering some of my columbine seeds around just onto the soil also. I'll get out these kind of bigger petals that are in our way here. Okay. You can see that it doesn't take long at all to harvest enough seeds for quite a few plants. All it takes is just one bupleurum, or one columbine in my case, also that grows well and produces seed for you to have seeds year after year. We'll start off by harvesting these orange pico dahlias. I love the look of them, but I find that they don't last as long in the vase as some of my other dahlias. These give me about 4 good days before they start looking a little bit wrinkled, but I'm going to work with these today and add in some others for extra vase life also. Next up are these gorgeous Rip City dahlias, and these ones I find give me almost 7 days in the vase, and I am using these mesh bags just to protect them from caterpillars and bug damage. I find that these have a little bit more of an issue with insect pressure than the orange ones do, but they are still beautiful and totally worth growing. Next up, we'll harvest some of this self-seeded celosia that made it through the winter in my zone 6. It wasn't supposed to, but I'm so glad that it came back for me. Now we're harvesting some zinnias. These are the Dawn Creek pastel mix, and the only thing to keep in mind with zinnias is to make sure that they pass the wiggle test. So if you shake them and they don't flop around, then they are ready to be cut. You can see some of them, like this one over here, is a little too far gone for what I would like to use in arrangements, but others are looking really nice and just coming out. So we'll grab some of these for our arrangement too. Last up for greenery, we'll be using some of this Mrs. Burns lemon basil. It smells incredible, and the bloom spikes will add interest as well as the leaves adding scent to our arrangement. Just like with zinnias, basil is one of those cut and come again type crops. So the more you cut it, the more stems it will produce. So I like to cut my basil pretty far down so that I can encourage new growth at the base. Alright, so we have all of our flowers here in front of me. Again, we chose some orange Pico dahlias, some Rip City dahlias, a self-seeded celosia, some Dawn Creek zinnias, and then also some lemon basil. Even for a small arrangement like this, I kind of like to lay out my ingredients so I know how much of each thing that I have, and I'm going to end up putting them into this beautiful vase. I like the way that the top kind of opens up. It allows the arrangement to kind of lean out, making it look more full. Alright, so I like to start with a sturdy center stem. I like the way that these orange dahlias have some foliage with them. Disregard the chicken in the background. She's helping me out today, I guess. So I'm going to use this for foliage interest, but then also, of course, for its blooms. So I'll start with this dahlia. I think next I'll add this beautiful celosia, maybe a sprig of dill. Let's see. There we go. And I kind of just turn as I go. And if I decide I don't like where something is, then I will just kind of change it as I go. First up, I'm just focusing on making sure that my focal flowers are kind of evenly spaced. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once I like kind of where I'm headed, I'll add in a couple more. Let's see. Alright, so here's where we're at so far. A couple sprigs of basil, we have our focal flowers, and then we still need to add one more sprig of basil, celosia, and then our zinnias. I wanted to make sure that these were kind of evenly spaced. So because our first celosia is on this side, I'm going to add the other one on the opposite side. It looks like this spot could use a little more basil. And then I just want to make sure that everywhere that you look, because this will be kind of a all sides arrangement, you can look at it from every side. I want to make sure that everywhere you look has a focal bloom. So if it doesn't have a dahlia, I'll add in a zinnia. So I'm going to look kind of from the top down and see what I think. And you can just kind of stick in the stems and then grab them at the bottom. See how the zinnia is kind of leaning? I picked it just at as like the earliest that you would want to pick it, but I think what I'm going to do is use that lean. I'm going to take it out and drape it toward the middle so that it leans inside instead of kind of being out on its own. There we go. What a lovely collection of things. And of course this isn't super curated or styled or anything. We're just going for a simple bouquet, like I said, to give my friend. I want it to be beautiful, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I will take my vase here. I'll trim up our bottom stems, and I like to hold up my arrangement to the vase to kind of determine where I want the bottom to be. I didn't cut these stems super long, but they're still really long compared to this short vase. So we'll just trim these down. And kind of see what we think, and if they need to be shorter, that's fine too. I think I'm going to go just a hair shorter. I kind of like when there's a little bit of like negative space, empty space at the bottom of the vase, so the stems don't go all the way down to the bottom. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, pick up my scraps a little bit. And once it's in the vase, I like to just kind of move the stems around, see if there's anything that needs to be changed. You can at this point shorten individual stems that you feel like are too long. Let's see. Let's take out that purple from the side and put it more toward the middle. There we go. kind of wilty looking zinnia. I'm going to cut it a little shorter and use the other stems to prop it up a bit. And if in the morning it's not doing what I want, I might take it out. But I think that might help for now. See how when you look at the bottom, not all of the stems are touching? I kind of like that negative space. Not everything has to be smashed against the bottom of the vase. And you can see from overhead, if you're like sitting, if this was on a desk or something, you can see that the view from overhead is lovely too. There's not any major spots. There we go. Now there's not any major spots that don't have a bloom. It looks fairly symmetrical, but whimsical and not too overdone. That's the goal.